morning, students. Today we'll see what is mobile application development. We'll start this course today, and we'll start with the introduction to Android. Myself, Dr. Shirisha, Associate Professor from CSE Department, MLR Institute of Technology. Coming to mobile application development, in the first unit we are going to cover introduction to Android. So introduction to Android will talk about all these topics which are there, starting with the Android platform, which covers how Android will look like, and prerequisites of Android. For developing an Android application, what are the other languages that are required? Android SDK. So here, software development kit, what are all the resources or the workbench that are required for developing an Android, that we'll see. Then Android Studio installation. So Android Studio is nothing but it is a software for developing any Android application. So how the installation process will be, so that we can discuss, and building your first. So first installation will be completed. Once it is ready, you can start up with the Android application. We'll see first Android application example, and understanding the anatomy of Android application. So anatomy covers the overall picture of what is Android Studio and what are the different elements that are there, what are their uses, and how to implement them. Then Android manifest file. Android manifest file is one which binds your XML as well as Java programming. XML and Java are nothing but these are the two programs that we write for, one for the developing and one for the design phase, okay, and one for the backend, okay, logical part. So Java for logical part, XML is for the design part we'll use here. So it binds everything, and whatever the customization you wanted to do for your application, that you can do using your manifest file. So here we have one textbook, which is Lawrence Davey and Shane Coder. Textbook name is Android Wireless Application Development by Pearson Edition Second Edition. So this you can go through for reference. We'll move to Android introduction. So what actually is Android? In the previous days, we don't have a mobile phones. Slowly, we got a mobile phones with one red button and one green button, where we use them only for calling, voice calling. But somehow we have got the Android into the existence, and which is based upon the Linux kernel. So basic operating system that we use is a Linux operating system. So user interface for touch screens. So initially we got an Android for touch screens only. Thereby we got video callings and Bluetooth connectivity, sharing, file sharing and all. So starting we got a user interface for touch screens. Then used on this, all the smartphones were using this kernel, Linux operating system, okay, Linux kernel. And power devices such as watches, TVs and cars, these are also, or now we are able to connect cars directly to some phones, and directly you can use the Android applications. What are the applications you have in the phone? Everything we are able to access in the cars and TVs also, and also in the smart watches. Like we have Apple phone watches where you can directly connect your phone. You can connect it via the Bluetooth. Then you can make calls, okay, and you can text it, okay, you can notifications can be viewed, everything can be done. Then so over 2 million Android applications in Google Play Store. So what is Google Play Store? It's a Play Store where you will have all the applications that are required to download. So whatever you can download for gaming, for software applications, or anything that any app which is developed and released into the market, that can be directly downloaded from the Google Play Store. Highly customizable for the devices and by the vendors, and it is an open source. So Android Studio, so for Android we will be using an Android Studio software. So this Android Studio is an open source, so you can directly get it from a internet, so that we are calling it as a open source, okay. Then Android user interaction. As Android user interaction means what? So once we have, so here if you touch here, so somewhere you are getting access, okay. So Android mobiles, directly with one touch you are able to access everything, every element in the application, every layout in the application, or every activity in the application. So for touch touch gestures. What is required? One is swiping is required, tapping. By double tap you will once open the file, or click on the cross. You can, by single click you can just close the application and you just swipe it. Okay, all this we require because it is a touch gesture. And virtual keyboard for characters, numbers and emojis. So these are all, actually we'll have a keyboard for PCs and all, but as it is an Android application, previously before in the few versions when the Android has been released, in the initial stages we got a keyboards which are visually we can view in the Android mobile, then we can use it. But later on what we got a virtual keyboards where there is no keypad in the mobile, thereby you are able to get a virtual keyboard directly in your Android layout. So that's a virtual keyboard, so where you can use of alphanumeric, any special characters, any emojis, whatever, you can use it from there. Support for Bluetooth, USB controllers, peripherals. So Bluetooth is where you can share the files. Okay, share the files. And USB controllers, where you can use the USBs for again file accessing. Okay, and peripherals, the different devices which can be connected, like pen drives and all, hard disk, pen drives and all. Okay, so support for this. Even nowadays we can directly connect our Android phone to our systems, even with a cable or without a cable, directly by using a Bluetooth. Or we have different peripherals came into existence, thereby you can use directly. Prints also, nowadays portable printers we have directly from mobile, we could able to take prints. Android is developing very vastly, okay, in all the features that are required been implementing or embedded. Okay, so history of Android. Who developed this Android? Actually, Google acquired the startup company Android in 2005. So before 2005 we don't have Android, so we only used CDMA and GSM mobile phones, where everything were used in the keyboard, okay, keypad. And whatever you're touching in the keypad, that will be affected your screen. So but here in 2005 they had to start development of Android platform, so Google have taken the initiative, and the others were Andy Rubin, Rich Miner, Nick Sayers and Chris White. So Android key players, these are the four authors who have developed Android in 2005. And later on the Android platform to form the Open Handset Alliance. So Open Handset Alliance in 2007. Again, some other authors have been started. And Android SDK was first issued by Early Look, released in 2007. Means Android, as though they have started in 2005. The SDK was first issued in Early Look, means how the Android device was there, that was released in November 2007. In 2008, T-Mobile announced the first smartphone based on Android platform. So in 2008 we got the first Android phone, and this was first Early Look how it was there. It was released in 2007, that into the market the customers were using the Android mobile phones from the September 2000. A few days after that, Google announced the availability of SDK release Candid 1.0. So there are so many versions like 1.0, 2.0, 4.0, like this. We have given several names like Cupcake, Lollipops, okay, Flamingo, okay, like this. So we'll see what are the different versions slowly. And in 2008, the source code of Android platform is available under Apache open source, okay, Apache open source license. Apache already we have discussed, it is a server where it manages everything in the server side, okay. So that's about the history of Android. So starting from 2008 we have started an Android platform architecture. So coming to by now we know what is Android, where initially we have started with the touch screen. Now what is SDK? To develop that Android, the touch screen, what actually is being what are the different layers or different abstractions that are required. So first, initially, we start with the bottom up purpose. Initially, we have a Linux kernel. So Linux is the operating system that every Android is supporting. Hardware abstraction layer, but like all the different, like what are the different resources that are required, like Bluetooth and all that we connect, right? So for that, what is required? So it is abstraction layer where peripherals and all can be connected. Native C, C++ library. So for connecting to Linux and getting the responses, you need a different C and C++ libraries for which we use this. And Android runtime is using a DVK, which is a Dalvik Virtual Machine, DVM, Dalvik Virtual Machine, which is used for what? It is used for runtime, means like how we use JVM for Java. So it was used, Android is using Android runtime using the DVM machine. And Java API framework. So you need the basic code that you write to logical implementation, it will be a Java. So you need a Java API framework for accessing all. And system applications, user applications, there are two different types of applications. If you take a system applications, we'll discuss what are the different applications. Similarly, user applications. Okay. So this is a full stack of what is an Android application. If you see this diagram, so whatever we have discussed, a Linux kernel is there and hardware abstraction layer is there, native C, C++ libraries, runtime and Java framework. Okay, this is a Java framework we have, and system application. So all these are whatever the diagram we have seen previously. This is a layout, means outline of what is SDK. So if you see this diagram, this is a complete software stack. So here a Linux kernel has to your Linux kernel has to support all the drivers. So audio drivers, your keypad. So audio drivers for listening MP3 or MP4, and keypad for taking a input, and shared memory where you can share the files, and IPC, inter-process communication, where it binds everything locally or remotely. Bluetooth, where you can share the files with the shorter distances between different devices. USB, so uniform serial bus. So this is where you can connect every peripherals that are able to get connected with the Android phones. And for all this, you need for power management basically. And the display drivers, GUI, if you have user interface, for that also you need a display, and you need camera and Wi-Fi. These are the basic requirements of every Android phone. And now everyone of us are using a Wi-Fi, so there should be a Wi-Fi drivers also installed, so that your Android will be supporting every Wi-Fi connection. Similarly, in the hardware abstraction layer, if you see, we have audio, Bluetooth, camera, sensors, whatever the external peripherals that we connect, and native C, C++ libraries. So here, if you see, what are the different C, C++ means WebKit and Media Framework, OpenMax AL, OpenGS. These are all what libraries C. So basically, as an engineering student, we will be knowing what are the different media frameworks and that are required. And library C is a basic library where it imports every APIs that are required as we are using a Java application along with XML for design part. So the required libraries are important. Okay. And Java runtime, you need an Android Java runtime and also core libraries. And Java API framework, content providers, view systems. So once we start our first unit, you will be understanding what are the view systems and content providers. These are nothing but for developing an application or an activity or a layout. So you need some content where it can be provided and managed, so that whatever the touch action we are handling, so that can be handled easily. And the view system is where we make use of different components like view, edit text, buttons and all. So this is what a Java API framework will be supporting these two. And activity location man, this is the other side. We have a managers where like administrators, where they can manage different activities from activity to activity. Means what? From one screen to other screen, if you want a navigation, so we call a simple page as an activity. Okay, and the location, what type of application you are using for location access. If you are using the application, in that application if you wanted to enable the location access also, then you need to manage this location. Similarly, packages, notification for getting all the different incoming messages or whatever your mobile is receiving, that if you wanted to receive, so we are not that is notification. Resource telephony window, so all these are different areas where Android JPI frameworks are there for accessing them. And finally, the system applications. So if you see the system applications, we have dialer. So to dial a phone number, so you need a dialer. Then email. So we all aware of what is an email and its uses. So even our Android mobile phones are also supporting the browser. So you can open the browser even in the Android phone, and you can send or receive the emails. And calendar, this is a basic system application. Camera is a basic system application which every Android phone by default will get a camera when you buy it. So like this, these are the few areas where the Android software stack is having different complete platform of the Android. Okay, so first, system applications. So these are the system applications. If you see dialer, email, calendar, camera, etc. So SMS program, basic SMS that we send, emails, calendar, maps. Maps means like for location we can say. And browser, directly web browsers can be opened. And contacts, so every phone is having a contact list, so contacts can be accessed and managed, like deleting, updating your contacts, and calling the number, everything. So like this, these are all the different applications, and can be written using Java language. The basic core language that we require here is a what? Java language. Okay, then next one, Java API. So what is Java API is, as we have discussed all this, so the most of the application frameworks access the core libraries, and those core libraries through Dalvik VM. Dalvik VM is nothing but virtual machine. Okay, like your JVM will be using the Dalvik virtual machine in the every Android studio for the, as it acts as a gateway to the Android platform. Okay. Then Java API. So these are the different features of Java API. We have view system, where it is used to include list, grids, text boxes, buttons, embedded browsers, okay, edit text, okay, everything, whatever the components that you require for displaying in the one activity, you can use this view system. So whatever can be viewed in your page or layout, okay, we can call it as a view. Content provider, enabling the applications to access data from other applications. So if you are having a WhatsApp, so in WhatsApp you will be having a home page where every chat boxes, every chats will be visible. And if you navigate to other page, you will be having a status. And if you navigate to other page, if you can go for calls, video calls or voice calls, like that list. So there's a different activities that are there. So when you click, so it will, the new activity has to be open. So for which this content provider will be managing, which enables all the applications to access the data either from one activity to other activity. It can be shared. Suppose if you put a status in the WhatsApp, the same thing you can share to Facebook also. So you have the export option in the in your WhatsApp status. So what is that? That is nothing but your content provider is providing you the access to share the data to the Facebook. Okay, that is possible. So resource manager was providing non-code resources like graphics, layouts, strings and all. So once we see how your Android platform is, we can understand everything. Notification manager is where we will be getting a notifications once we get a message, or once we get a missed call, or once we get any email. So we'll be getting a notifications if you are enabling that. So that can be managed by the notification manager. Activity manager, it is a life cycle of all the applications that can be managed. If you want to open WhatsApp, it will open WhatsApp. If you wanted to open some other application, you can click on that, it will. So who is managing the activity to activity means, by using this activity manager, all the activities could be easily accessed for a user. Okay. Next, C++ libraries and Android runtime. So this is these are the different libraries that we have discussed. So these are the components that are used by the Android system, and these are the packages or libraries that are used by the Java API, okay, and which supports Android. So exposed to developers to Android application framework. So you need a runtime. Once these libraries are all up, then you can easily run them using your Android runtime, which is ART, and which require a basic core libraries. These libraries supports your application to run. Okay. Then these are the media libraries which are based on packetvideo.com. If you see, we'll have a packet videos, okay, which is open source again. These libraries are responsible for recording and playback of audio and video formats. This is one example that I'm giving. And the library called Surface Manager controls access display system. So Surface Manager means what? Whatever you are able to see on the screen. So who is managing that is a Surface Manager. Suppose 2D and 3D also can be supported. And WebKit library is responsible for browser support. WebKit library means all the browsers like Safari or Chrome. Even in the Android also, we are able to use the browsers, open them and surf the internet. So this WebKit library is supporting the Android system, and it supports even the Safari in the Apple phones and Chrome also. Then SQLite is a small relational database, and this relational database, comparatively the storage capacity may be vary when it is compared with the PC, but SQLite is supported. SQLite is just relevant to similar to your SQL, but where it accesses a short short database. So it's also independent open source for relational databases, not directly tied to Android. But every Android phone is using SQLite for fetching or retrieving the data from the database. Okay, so that's about different libraries and the Android runtime. And here if you see, we have a small diagram which is showing you as every code in the Android Studio, we are writing using a .java, and this .java compiler will be compiled with the .class file. This .class file will be converted internally to the DEX file with a .dex extension. So what is this DEX file is? This Dalvik virtual machine will be executing the DEX format. So as JVM is there, so class file is sufficient for running the Java program, but here we are using Android based on the DVK or DVM, Dalvik virtual machine. So this DVM will convert your .class file to .dex. So this is a format optimized for minimal memory footprint. So this is how the compilation process. This is the first where you will get .java, second .class file, third is a DEX file. So Linux kernel, why we are using it? So threading is possible, and low level memory management is also possible. In between, the different process can be executed parallelly. If we see, every Android phone, we have an option to see all the recent applications. So it is not that you're using one application, you need not, or you are unable to use a second application. So multi processes can be executed at a time. So to execute that, this threading helps us to execute individual process, and low level memory management is also possible comparatively to PCs. So how a DEX file or DVM machine is generating a text file. So Java dot Java files, this is the source code you will have. So compiler we know dot class file. So Java source file will be compiling and you will get a dot class file finally. And this docs file, the dot class file will be given to your text compiler. It will generate .dx file. And the .dx file, if you take this, finally we'll get a APK file. APK file is a file where it can be stored into your, or it can be accessed into your Android mobile phone, and that APK file is used for deployment of your application into your Android. So write in Java code, compile and transform to DVK. There's a Dalvik bytecode and loaded into DVM. So your Linux will support DVM in the and using the Android Studio. So C++ libraries and the Android runtime. So here you have a hardware abstraction layer. Hardware abstraction layer where it supports all the different hardwares that are required. So like audio, you need audio drivers to listen the MP3 or MP4. Then Bluetooth for listening or file sharing in the short distances where you connect the Bluetooth devices. And camera, every Android phone is having a camera. And sensors, like if you wanted to put any external devices like IoT devices to your Android phone, then also you can use this. So hardware abstraction layer consists of multiple library modules, so which implements the interface specific type of hardware components such as camera or Bluetooth. So this everyone of us by today, we know, we all are aware of all the devices, so it is easy for us to understand. When my framework API makes a call to access the device hardware, when a framework access some particular, say Bluetooth, that API is used for accessing that. So the Android system loads the library module for that hardware component. Okay. Then finally the Linux kernel. So whatever we wanted to connect audio, or we wanted to connect Bluetooth or send different sensors, whatever you wanted to access, the basic thing that you require is operating system. And this operating system needs drivers to understand how to access the different peripherals or different devices that are connected, or different elements. So relying on the Linux on the core system services, memory and process management. I think memory and process management is possible in Android, network stack, drivers, security. So everything is managed by the Linux kernel.